To start, so you get to be, he's not a guy in a chair, but he is the guy in like, the CIA who is like, yes, I'm in charge of talking and getting to like navigate this situation, which in a show like Lioness is fun, but you don't get to do like the high powered action scenes. For you as an actor, is it more fun getting to be the guy who's like behind everything, or would you rather be in those kind of high stakes action sequences we get?
It's tough. I love both, right? I mean, in Jack Ryan, I get my fair share of it. So I
Mhm.
get to fly in the helicopters and shoot the guns and do all that stuff. I think if I hadn't just finished a year and a half straight of Jack Ryan doing 2 seasons back to back, I might be like, oh man, I want to be in the guns and night shoots. And no, I was happy to be in the chair in a room just talking. But no, I do. I love that shit. I love the action stuff. It is a lot of fun, but there is also something incredibly rewarding sitting around a big, large table with a group of actors like Morgan Freeman and Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, Bruce McGillis, Jennifer Ely, like just crazy, crazy, incredibly fortunate to sit there with those just powerhouses and try to hold your own. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, you do though get the cool aspect of like you're sitting across from the in that woman across from Morgan Freeman. You're in most of the scenes with Nicole Kidman, and it's
Yeah.
cool. Like I do like the divide. Well, I guess there's like three divides to this show because there's the action sequences, there's the family drama, and then there's like the CIA side of
Yeah.
it too. Do you wish that we got to see more of Byron's like personal life? Because it's all about Joe, but I do think it's funny that this he is so contained in that CIA storyline.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I don't know if they're going to do another season or not. And if they do, I hope that maybe you would go home with Byron at some point and see what his life is like. Because I am truly fascinated by those folks in the CIA and how they do have to live a completely separate life while never being off the clock,
Mhm.
country they serve. I just I think Taylor did that so well with these women characters that sure I would. Oh my God, are you kidding me? I'd love to see what Byron's house looks like and his family looks like, and I have a vision in my head that you bring to work. You have to have some sort of story in your head, but yeah, of course, I would love that.
When I know, I like Taylor Sheridan wrote one of my favorite movies. I've watched Yellow. Like I like his writing a lot because
Mm.
like I think he has a way of bringing stories to life that you on the surface think are one thing, and then the more you get into it, you realize they're completely different. Because like Hell or High Water, I'm always like, no, it's a perfect movie. Watch Hell or High Water.
Oh my God, such a
But
good one.
it's incredible, and it made me just like obsessed with how he kind of approaches writing. And the more I talk to people who worked with him, they say that like when you get those scripts, you don't want to veer away from the writing, that it is just you get it and you're like, this is, I want to say everything that's on this page, I don't want to kind of pull away from it. When you are playing a character that is, he has so many important things he has to say because it's part of the mission, it's part of like what he has to talk with Joe. Do you get to play around at all, or is it that same feeling where you're just like, no, I'm saying what Taylor wrote?
I didn't, in all honesty, I didn't feel the need to deviate from the script. Quite often you get something, you're like, oh, it doesn't feel right. It's not rolling off my tongue right.
Mhm.
And you go to the writer and you talk it through and you figure things out. I had no inclination to change. I mean, there might have been a word or two, you know what I mean? Where I was just like, and they're like, no problem. But it's funny because I remember very specifically when I spoke with Taylor uh, before he officially gave me the job. I was like, he had sent me the scripts, and I was like, oh my God, they're so good, man. And he's like, well, that's what we're shooting. Just so you know what you're reading right there, that there's not going to be rewrites, and there won't be second blue pages. There won't be anything. The commas that are missing, the periods that are missing. Sorry, that's what we're shooting. What you got in your hand. And I was like, that's incredible, and so incredibly rare. You never see it. You're
Mhm.
constantly filming, getting pages, rewriting scenes, and not you personally rewrite them, rewriting scenes the night before sometimes. So to know the 2 months prior to you starting the job that prep work, especially like some of those monologues that I
Mhm.
had that were 2 pages, 3 pages long, it's just like takes me forever to memorize that shit. I was like, good to know it's not going to change because this is really hard. to memorize all this. So I was grateful. He's an incredible writer, man, and he puts his mind to something, he can just rip it out, and I'm constantly amazed at how he does. What's, I don't know, what was he at, six shows, 8 shows, who knows?
A lot of them.
Right.
But I do think too, like, does that help build in like for your own self rehearsal time? I don't know if it's what the process is there, but I was a theater kid who have an acting degree. Like I know how prep work works with like each actor differently. Does having that help you versus, on a regular show where someone's bringing you an entirely new thing that you have to then kind of work into what you've already built?
100%, because I'm also anal and crazy, and I've got tabs on all my pages, and with how many pages each scene is, and asterisks for how hard it is, 1 through 4. Like I've got the whole thing laid out. So for me, I'm so grateful to work with someone like Taylor, because it fits exactly into my mode of preparation for my work. So it's kind of perfect. He and I don't know if I'd say the same. I'm saying my relationship with him
Yeah.
is perfect for me as an actor to work with him as a writer. I love it.
When I do have to ask, because I always am fascinated by how relationships are built, especially where it's either like between actors when they're trying to work on their characters, because it's either, they're meeting for the first time, so it's fine that these two actors are strangers, or if it's like an estranged whatever. But this is a long-standing working relationship, but they're not that personal. Like they don't know the personal lives of the people they're working with, so it's already a weird work relationship that you're then building these characters around. How did you guys all kind of navigate, like especially you and Nicole and you and Zoe, interacting as characters when you don't have that, like, this is my coworker who knows about my husband kind of ground?
Well, I think, if you ask me personally, in my head and my backstory, mine and Nicole's character are probably the closest, in that they do have a history. They do know a bit about each other personally. They don't probably talk about it a ton, but they've worked together in my mind, these two have worked together for a long time. They have a very good relationship. It's not the same for me and Zoe's character, because we haven't been together as long either, and I think that Nicole and I's characters have this this mutual respect and admiration for one another that's quite evident, I think, from watching it, that they get each other, they know how each other work. So that's sort of, you have to have something in your head for it to make sense when you're sitting with these people at the table. I don't know if it comes across as that, but it's what you try for. It's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think too, for my last question, I do think Lioness is one of the more serious shows. Like his other shows, I do think have a level of either absurdity or comedy in them that, like, if you're watching it, you're like, this is actually funny. Like, think about Yellowstone when there's a shootout and Kevin Costner's like behind a car. I'm like, this is modern day. Like, what are we doing? I love it, but what are we doing?
I love it.
But for you, when you get to kind of dive into that Taylor Sheridan role, but be the more serious of shows, does it make you want to have those more kind of outrageous moments that we get on like Yellowstone and Mayor of Kingstown?
Sure, man. I mean, look, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm dying to do a comedy, man. No one ever considers me for a comedy. I watched Step Brothers with my kids the other night. They're like, Dad, how come you're not in a movie like this? And I'm like, I know, I would really like to be kids, but thank you for rubbing it in my face. No, for whatever reason, early in my career, I was cast sort of as that guy. But in my real life, I never stopped smiling and I never stopped laughing. And so to always go and be like this dead guy emotionally, it's fun, and I'm grateful for the work and I love it. But yeah, I'm dying to do like a Step Brothers or a Fairly Brothers movie or something, just like I want to go be absolutely absurd. So yeah.
You now just need to record yourself singing Sweet Child of Mine. Just in a car being like, I can do it, guys.
There you go, guys. See?
I love it. Thank you so much for talking with me today. I
Thanks
really
a lot.
appreciate it.
Nice to meet you, Rach. Take care.
Nice to meet you. Have a great one.